I know.
City of Salem, the City Council Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted with the whole, met in the council chamber on June 10th, 2025 at 6 p.m. for the purpose of discussing the fiscal year 26 operating budget for the following departments: the Health Department, Finance, Collector, Assessor, Purchasing, Treasurer, and the Finance Department as well. Notice of this meeting was posted on June 4th, 2025 at 1:40 p.m. From the Administration and Finance Committee attending tonight, we have Councilor Harvey and Councilor Davis. From the Committee of the Whole, we have Councilors Cohen and Councilor Marcillo. We also have in attendance tonight, Mayor Pengallo. We have, let me see. Oh. Did that again. We also have in attendance Mayor Pengallo, our Chief of Staff, Lisa Peterson. We have Dave Greenbaum, our Health Agent, Anna Friedman, our Finance Director, Stephen Cortez, our Director of Assessing, Kristen Lindberg, our City Treasurer, and Anthony Delaney, our Chief Procurement Officer. And welcome, everyone. The Administration and Finance Budget Committee hearings for fiscal year 2026. The agendas are posted on the city calendar, which include a link to the fiscal year 2026 proposed budget and other financial information, including the 2026 budget in brief, an overview of budget priorities, timelines, breakdown of revenue sources, and where your money goes. And we are starting tonight with the assessor, Stephen Cortez, and that is section 3. And the budget summary is on page 290. And welcome, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor. Thank you for accommodating my schedule. And I promise to be very brief. I know Dave has a meeting, so I'll be fast. The assessing department follows an annual cycle with property inspections as a key routine task. Per Mass General Law requirements, the department values all real and personal property and prepares tax billing commitments, including motor vehicle and boat excise taxes. The team includes 2 principal clerks, 2 assistant assessors, a director of assessing, and 3 board members. Daily duties include inspections, customer service, processing abatements and exemptions, and maintaining property records, permits, and tax maps. The department also manages new growth revenues that increase the tax levy, which funded 56% of the city's budget last year. In FY26, Salem enters a state-mandated revaluation year to ensure fair property assessments. This process involves reviewing valuation methods, updating data, and state oversight through the Board of Local Assessments. A revaluation year in Massachusetts is a comprehensive state-mandated process that requires a full review and update of all property assessments to ensure they reflect current fair market values. Conducted every 5 years, this process includes detailed analysis of sales data, market trends, property characteristics, and involves field inspections and data verification. It is overseen by the Department of Revenue and must receive both preliminary and final certification before the new values are implemented. This differs from an interim year, which occurs in the years between revaluations. During interim years, assessors still adjust property values and reflect market changes, but the process is less intensive and does not require a full DOR certification. Interim adjustments rely more heavily on statistical updates and trending rather than the comprehensive re-inspections and valuation audits required during the revaluation year. This leads into the contracts and services line. The adjustments for FY26 assessor's budget requests are primarily due to the revaluation, specifically the contract service line, the NearMap program shared with multiple departments, and our assessing software maintenance agreements have each seen an increase of less than $700, while our budgeted amount for the DOR mandated personal property appraisals and condo analysis have each decreased by $1,000. Additionally, our legal service line has increased by $4,500 to support ongoing personal property utility ATB litigation. However, the most significant change is due to the revaluation. Our assessing software vendor, Preacher Properties, which is now called Catalyst, will be required to produce more in-depth reports, summaries, and be available to respond to the BLA representative inquiries while the assessing staff is out on the field continuing the inspections of all of the parcels in the city. For reference, the cost for the assistance last time we had a revaluation was $52,500. Overall, contract services line increase is $39,099. The rest of the assessor's budget request is as follows. For the rest of our expenditure, printing and binding and office supplies lines have stayed the same. In-state travel meetings went up $50, and the change to the salary line reflects the COLA and union contract agreements. And that's pretty much all that I have. And is there any questions before Dave?
Great, thank you for that summary, appreciated. Councillor Cohen?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. Not being a member of the committee, thank you for what you do. I get two things. One is on exemptions that people can realize, for different reasons, and the work-off program. Do you feel that more and more people are taking advantage of those, or do we need to promote them more?
So I think over the years, we've done a lot to promote it. We've put them in the tax bills, and they've been also notified on our website. So promoting the exemptions are, we're on top of those. I think, there's variances between year to year, and that always happens because there's a difference in demographic of the city. There's older people who move out of their houses. They move into, assisted livings and nursing homes. And then there's also the valuation aspect. So in years where the values don't go up as much, people are not incentivized to fill out exemptions. Last year, the tax bills, so let me rewind. I think our main the main people who apply live in single-family homes and residential condos. And last year, the average tax bill for the residential condo and single families didn't go up that much. So that could be also a reason why people are not incentivized to file. However, we're always available to answer anyone's questions. If anyone wants to come into the office, call, or visit our website, all of the information is available.
And people are doing the work-off program?
People are doing the work-off program. The work-off program has a specific number of people who can apply. So that's a set number. I
have one other thing. For some reason, solar companies, when they're selling solar now, because some of the incentives aren't as good, have been promoting this idea that you can be exempt from your, tax exempt if you own solar. And the few people who have called me, I've tried to explain to them, as I'm sure you know, so hopefully if you get calls about this, that all it does for 20 years is that you cannot increase the assessed value of the home based on the solar, but you do not get a separate tax exemption, right?
There is, so we don't tax solar panels on residential properties. We don't have, so we go by sales, we go by the market, and solar panels in Massachusetts it's exempt unless you have a solar field, or unless it's leased on a city-owned property. But other than that, it's not.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Councilor Masillo?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say I appreciate the work you're doing to get the word out about the tax abatements. I think it's always a hard thing to get information to people. But I appreciate that you held that workshop last year. I think, and I hope you continue to do that yearly, because information like that is important, and I think people will be more interested each year. But you're absolutely correct that people roll off of the system also. So it's just a constant just a constant reminder. That's what people need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the budget summary, which is on page 290. Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the accessor budget personnel line item of $415,412 for expenditures $110,594 with a department total of $516,006.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the assessor's personnel budget in the amount of $405,412, expenditures in the amount of $110,594 for a department total of $516,006, seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show I see 2 hands plus my own. The matter carries. And thank you. Thank you for the work you and your department does.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so next we are having Dave Greenlaw present on the Health Department. This is section tabbed 16, and the budget summary is on page 430. And here.
Good evening. So as you know, the health department is made up of several divisions now. We have the environmental health division, we have our principal clerk division, our public health nursing division, our health and wellness coordinator. We have some grants that include our tobacco control department and our regional public health excellence grant that we've been able to, with that, employ about 12 additional members in our staff. They oversee and work for 8 communities on the North Shore, so that grant fully funds and takes care of salaries and benefits for those staff members. Our department has done a lot of work over the last year. The only change in staffing has been that the public health nurse took a job at the schools, and we're looking to hire a new public health nurse right now. Other than that, our financial side of the budget has basically stayed the same. We didn't inquire or ask for any increases. We've seen an increase in the work around certificates of fitness with the hire of the code enforcement officer in 2023, and 2024 rather, I'm sorry, and he's done a ton of work. He's increased that participation by probably about 150, 200%. So we appreciate that, and we look to move that forward going along into FY26 as well. So like I said, nothing else has changed financially. Everything is level funded other than the ASME contracts and the COLAs that the mayor provided. So if anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you for
Yes,
that.
sorry. There is an increase to Mac Park because the contract went up $1,000, so that's the one increase.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Mazzillo?
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Dave, for the information. Could you talk a little bit about the opioid settlement funds, and have we used any of them? Do we have a plan for using them? I know you have a hire that you're still working on.
Yep.
Is there a timetable for all of that?
So we just went through a big project. We worked with MAPC to reach out to the community about how best the community felt we should spend those funds. So we are looking at those recommendations from that report. We intend to report out to the community, probably at a Board of Health meeting, probably in the fall, probably September, about what those recommendations were and how best we can use those funds for that. We did spend some of that money on the Narcan boxes that are around the downtown area, and those were placed at the discretion of the police department. We used the information from them where they thought they could best be deployed. So we are still looking to hire that position, but we have not hired them as of yet. My focus has shifted from that position to the public health nurse.
So how's that going?
Slow, very slow, yeah. We have a couple of candidates right now. We're hoping that we can narrow it down and have a candidate in place in the next, few weeks.
So, I mean, is the goal to hire that position like this summer, maybe?
I would hope, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, because we still have a majority of those funds left over, right?
We have a significant amount of them.
Significant, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Really? Councillor Cohen?
Thank you, Chair Merkel, not being a member of the committee. First of all, thanks for being so responsive on neighborhood stuff, whether it's someone leaving something out, bulk item that they didn't get permission, that they didn't make an appointment. There's a lot of stuff that is dangerous, kids walking by, and you're really great about that. And I also wanted to reinforce that I had, as you know, one of your inspectors come and do the certificate of fitness inspections. I will say it was like she had a magnifying glass. It was awesome. Okay, things that I was like, what? I really have to do that, But I think it's really important that we've changed the ordinance, because. And I know that, part of that funding was from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board grant, but this is really about making apartments safe. And I think the way you guys are pursuing landlords, instead of, waiting for them to come to you, that you're really being proactive. So I think that's really great. And I just want to put a 10-cent, accommodation for Carrie Murphy. Does a lot of great stuff, whether it's Mac Park or the Mills at Saltonstall or whatever. She's really good at creating community. So want to mention that, but yeah, keep up the good thing. I mean, it sounds like at the rate you're going that we're going to really whittle away at the inspections at a pretty good rate, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? No? Okay, so the budget summary is on page 435. Councillor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Health Department budget, personnel line item of $653,614, expenditures $127,139, for a department total of $780,753.
Second it.
Councillor Davis moves to recommend approval of the Health Department personnel budget in the amount of $653,614. The expenditures in the amount of $127,139 for a Health Department total of $780,753. Seconded by Councillor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show. I see two hands plus my own. The matter carries. And thank you. Thank you, your department, to you and your department. For all
Thank you.
the work you do. Appreciate
I appreciate it. Thank
very
you.
much. Next, we have the Collector's Office, and Anna Friedman will be covering that. This is Section 4, and the budget summary is on page 295. So again, that's Section 4. And welcome, Anna.
Thank you. Our collector Bonnie is unfortunately ill tonight, so I am covering for her. So the collector's office is the portal for all revenues billed and received by the city of Salem. They collect all bills for real estate and personal property taxes, motor vehicle excise taxes, personal property taxes, et cetera, and other receivables. A couple things that I know Bonnie would have wanted to highlight if she was here tonight, some achievements from her team over the past year. They have worked really closely with the transportation department in the rollout of the new passport platform for the residential parking. Members of Bonnie's staff attended classes set up for the interpretation and translation. They also attended the customer service training that was put on by the city clerk's office. And I know that they're making plans with the clerk's office to continue those efforts going forward, and they're looking forward to that. I think there's another training set up in January. And they've also been dealing with, we've had some upgrades with our centralized software system Munis that have caused some changes in processes. So they've had to pivot a lot this year and sort of work to be flexible with implementing and making sure that they troubleshoot any adjustments for those. So they've been really busy this past year. And additionally, they are working with the building department and health department to launch the 40U program for ticketing. And they're also working, the collector and the deputy collector will be attending the collector treasurer's classes this year as well, for the conference and school for this year as well. Additionally, in terms of their budget, there are no major changes anticipated by the collector's office. Most of the employees in the collector's office are AFSCME employees in the union, so the increase in full-time salaries is due to the contract settlement and non-union cost of living adjustments. The new longevity line is also due to the union contract settlement, and then the rest of the budget remains level funded. And I just want to thank Bonnie and her team for always doing such a great job. They're extremely reliable.
Great, thank you. And also, yes, please tell Bonnie thank you very much to her and her team and the work that they do. Any questions or comments from the council? No? Okay, so the collector's budget summary is, we're still in tab 4, page 295. Councillor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the collector budget, personnel line item of $298,597, expenditures
$8,300.
$306,897.
Oh, 8,300?
8,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, $8,300 for a department total of $306,897.
Second it.
Councillor Davis moves to recommend approval of the collector's personnel budget of $298,597, the expenditures in the amount of $8,300 for a department total of $306,897, seconded by Councillor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show. I see 2 hands plus my own. The matter carries. And next, we are moving on to the purchasing department with Anthony Delaney. And we will start with general administration, section 6. And the budget summary will be on page 307. And welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So the purchasing department handles all requisitions and purchase orders for both the city and the schools, as well as all real property transactions, surplus property disposal. We manage the city's vendor records, including issuing 1099s to independent contractors every year. And we're part of the finance department, so we assist with vendor payment issues, insurance issues, including the vehicle list, and general munis support for a lot of city functions. We have a level funded budget other than personnel, which reflects we have myself, 1 full-time assistant purchasing officer, and a part-time purchasing assistant, all non-union. So that reflects the non-union compensation study that happened this year and COLA. So.
Yes, thank you. Some of the other departments too have commented on the study that they did to bring people's salaries in line with where they should be. So that was very much appreciated as well. Any questions from the council? Councillor Cohen?
Thank you, Chair Merkel. Not being a member of the committee, I can't wait for you to be able to buy all the materials for the new school. I never got to work with Anthony until we did the wage theft ordinance, and for people who don't know, he came from a community that had one, not a very good one, but had one, and you were really helpful in the process. Now that it's part of the application, you don't have to answer this, but has anyone asked why they have to? Because if they do, I'd love to know who is questioning whether they have to answer that question.
No, it has not raised any questions. I think while they're certainly not in a majority of communities, they're no longer a surprise to anyone, and they have not generated any questions. Also, no complaints have come to me this year. When you asked me that question last year, I had 2 inquiries that didn't become formal complaints. This year, I've had no questions and no complaints about.
We've had some, they typically go through me or mostly the legal department, but I generally want to just thank you. You're one of the people behind the scenes that people don't know exactly what purchasing does, and what I do know, really appreciate. Thank you.
I was grateful to be asked to have input on that ordinance, and very pleased with how it came out.
Yes, thank you. Thank you both for your work on that. Any other questions from the counselors? No? Okay, the budget summary is on page 307 for the general admin. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the purchasing department budget, personnel line item of $202,378, expenditures $23,725 for a department total of $226,103.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the purchasing department general administration personnel budget for the amount of $202,378, the expenditures in the amount of $23,725, for a purchasing department total of $226,103. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show I see 2 hands plus my own. The matter carries. Next, we have also in section 6, the fixed cost for purchasing, and we are moving to page 310. Any comments on, or?
No changes here. It's just the copiers, which we manage for City Hall and the annex. Just photocopiers, multifunction devices. Not much to say about them.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, and so this is a vote for expenditures, and we are on page 310. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the fixed costs, expenditures line item of $39,181 for department total of $39,181.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the purchasing fixed costs expenditures for $39,181 for a department total of $39,181. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the records show I see 2 hands plus my own. Matter carries. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we are moving on to the Treasurer's Department with Kirsten Lindberg, and this is sectioned tab 7. We are starting with general admin on the first page. And
Hello.
welcome.
Hi.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you for the introduction. In addition to myself, we have 3 other team members in the treasurer's office. Vinny DeCipio, who is the assistant treasurer, Caroline Nye, who is the payroll coordinator, and our newest team member is principal clerk Erica McCabe. She's been with us just under a year now. So we have actually been fully staffed for a whole year. It's been great. So as far as just as an overview of the primary function of the treasurer's office, it's basically to preserve, protect, and manage the financial resources of the city. The treasurer is responsible for the receipt, deposit, and disbursement of city funds and the accurate accounting and investment of those funds, all while being in compliance with MGL, city charter, and local ordinances. The treasurer's office also oversees the payroll distribution for all city and school employees and the preparation and submission of all quarterly employment forms to the state and the federal government. since I mentioned payroll, I would just like to take this opportunity to tell everybody what a challenging year it was in the treasurer's office, as well as HR and finance, I'm sure. We settled so many contracts, including, library, fire, police superior, police patrol, AFSCME. All of these contractual settlements created just so much work for everybody involved as far as, getting the employees paid, inputting the salary tables, the new pay codes, manually calculating all of the retro pay because, of course, the contracts were settled a little bit late. So we had to backdate, the pay to whatever date it was supposed to be, probably July 1st. So that was very, very challenging. In addition to the contractual settlements, we also had mass hire pay increases, city non-union COLA increases, and merit increases. So it's been a very, very busy year for payroll. So I just want to give a shout out to my staff and to HR and to finance and just say thank you to everybody. We did it and we got everybody paid on time. So it worked out really well. Does anybody have any questions?
And yes, thank you. Thank you to you and your team. Yeah, there were a lot of contracts settled. It was a busy year. And
It was great.
an incredible amount of hard work done there. Yes. Any questions from the council? Okay, so we are voting on the general administration budget for the treasurer's office. That is on page 315. Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Treasurer Department budget with personnel line item of $314,752 and expenditures $132,125 for a department total of $446,877.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the treasurer's general admin personnel budget in the amount of $314,752, expenditures in the amount of $132,125 for a department total of $446,877. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show I see 2 hands plus my own. The matter carries. Next, we move on to long-term debt service, which is page 318. And the budget summary is pages 320 and 321. And this is an expenditures vote.
I'll let Anna take this over. She made some changes here, so she knows them better than me.
Thank you.
So the debt service, this is the payments that the city is making to pay back for projects where we have borrowed funds to afford projects. A new thing that we're doing going forward is we're separating out debt associated with, I think this might be dying, sorry. We're separating out debt associated with underlying city projects and debt associated with school projects. And so if you see the lines in the budget summary that look a little bit wonky, that's why, because we parse those out so it would be more transparent which debt was associated with school projects and which debt was associated with other city general fund projects. Otherwise, this is consistent with the repayment schedule that we have from our financial advisors.
Okay, thank you for the clarity on that. Any questions from the council? No. Okay, so the long-term debt service budget summaries on 320 and continued on 321. Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend for approval the long-term debt service expenditure line item of $8,513,363 for a department total of $8,513,363.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the treasurer's long-term debt service expenditures budget for the amount of $8,513,363 for a department total of $8,513,363. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show I see 2 hands plus my own. The matter carries. Next, we move on to short-term debt service, page 323. And this is an expenditures vote as well.
Yep. So there The two things I wanted to point out were the lease payments and the interest on the leases. Those are for police department motorcycle leases that we have completely taken out of the treasurer's budget and moved over to the police budget. It just makes more sense there, so.
And then the other items there is the interest that we pay on the short-term notes, and that's based off of the band that we do, which is a bond anticipation note that we do in June each year, and then we pay that off. We pay interest on that in the fall when we permanently finance. So the adjustments there are resulting in a lower than otherwise planned for borrowing because the council recently approved repurposing some bond proceeds, so that allowed for some budget savings for next year because our interest payment will be lower since we do not have to borrow as much this spring. So that reflects a recent action by council to repurpose those bond proceeds. So thank you. That was very helpful.
Thank you. And that also is due to your due diligence, and it does save money when we repurpose funds. You've done a lot of digging, and that's appreciated. And that's what it results in. Any questions from the council? Yeah. Okay, so that is the short-term debt service on page 323. And this is an expenditures vote. Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the short-term debt service with an expenditure line item of $184,020 for a department total of $184,020.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the treasurer's short-term debt service expenditures total in the amount of $184,020 for the department total of $184,020. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show I see 2 hands plus my own. The matter carries. We now move on to the next page, 325, assessment, Essex Tech and vocational assessment.
So this number increased slightly due to the number of enrollments increasing. So I know we have approximately 169 students enrolled in Essex Tech this year, which is up from last year.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Councilor Marcelo?
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question about this. If we have 0 students going to Essex Tech, is there any assessment that we have to pay?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. We'd have to parse apart the buildup for the assessment because I'm not sure if in any given year there are other components to the assessment, like there are like embedded like capital components and so that are part of the tuition, and so we'd have to determine whether or not if there was one year where for some reason we didn't have any students enrolled, would we still be obligated? So that's a good question. We'd have to get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Okay, the budget summary is on page 325, expenditures only. Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Essex Tech and Vocational Assessment expenditures line item of $2,584,460 for a department total of $2,584,460.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the Essex Tech and Vocational Assessment expenditures in the amount of $2,584,460 for a department total of the same $2,584,460. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show I see 2 hands plus my own. The matter carries. Next, we move on to the assessment, the cherry sheet, which are the state funds. This is page 327. And
So the cherry sheet assessments did increase by approximately or a little less than 7% overall, which are mostly offset by the increase in the revenue portion of what we will receive from the state. Do you want to?
And one note, the numbers reflected in the budget are the numbers that were in the House budget. The Senate's numbers were slightly different. Conference committee, they often end up slightly different. Wherever the state ultimately lands on them in their budget, we're obligated to pay them, even if they are different from what is voted in the budget, because we are obligated legally to pay them. We don't expect them to vary significantly, but sometimes they can vary a bit from each version. For things like charter school calculation is usually the biggest one that changes.
Councilor Russillo?
Thank you, Chair. Can you just say what the RMV non-renewal surcharge is?
Oh yeah, that's for that. I always do this. I always do a bad job explaining this one.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. You might be able
You wanna
to
look
say
it
better
up?
than me. I'm going to pull up the.
So when a taxpayer does not pay their excise tax, after a certain period of time, it gets marked at the registry, which is a $20 fee, and it's a non-renewal fee, so they can't renew their license or their registration. When and if they do pay that fee, we then have to turn around and pay that back to the state, because it's really a state cost that we're collecting on their behalf.
Sorry, it's just a pass-through then? It's not,
Yes. Yes, it's a fee that is assessed to their bill. It's a late fee assessed to their bill. It's what we call a registry mark. It's assessed by the registry of motor yeah.
okay. So it's not really a charge to the city. We're just paying what you've
We
collected.
collect
for
it
that.
and then pay it back out. Correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Timing issue, but
Yeah, it could be a timing issue from year to year.
Yeah.
Because we have to figure out what exactly we collected and whatnot, but it's doesn't seem to increase too much every year, or decrease them for that matter. It can go either way.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the council? Okay, for the cherry sheet, the budget summary is on page 327. Expenditures vote.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the state assessment's Cherry Street expenditure line item of $11,630,030 for department total of $11,630,030.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the state assessment, the cherry sheet, expenditures in the amount of $11,630,030 for the department total of $11,630,030. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? The record show, I see two hands plus my own. Matter carries. Next, we move on to the next page, contributory retirement funds.
consistent with the funding schedule.
Any comment on these?
So the city's portion of retirement here increased by 5%, which is just consistent with the funding schedule. Yes. Some of this, about $200,000 to $250,000, is collected back from grants. So, I mean, it's not a huge amount on 16 million, but it's a little bit, that we get back from grants.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the council? No? Okay, Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the contributory retirement personnel line item of $16,600,787 for department total of $16,600,787.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the contributory retirement personnel budget in the amount of $16,600,787 for the department total of same, $16,600,787, seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? The record show I see two hands plus my own. The matter carries. And we move on to the next page, non-contributory pensions.
We still have we're still paying out for one member who collects the non-contributory pension, and there's been no change in that amount from prior year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council? No? Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the non-contributory pensions personnel line item of $10,625 for a department total of $10,625.
Second it.
Councillor Davis moves to recommend approval of the non-contributory pensions personnel budget of $10,625 for a department total of $10,625. Seconded by Councillor Harvey. All in favor? Record show, I see two hands plus my own. The matter carries. Next, we move on to Medicare, the next page. Any comments on that?
So the Medicare increase was calculated based on prior year number of employees and is adjusted for inflation and contract settlements. It's been 6% increase over the years for the last few years, and it's worked out well, so it's a safe number.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Councillor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Medicare budget personnel line item, $1,553,460 for a department total of $1,553,460.
Second it.
Councillor Davis moves to recommend approval of the Medicare personnel line item in the amount of $1,553,460 for a department total of $1,553,460. Seconded by Councillor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show, I see two hands plus my own. The matter carries. Next, we have on the next page, page 335, the municipal insurance. And this is an expenditures vote.
I'm going to take this one. The increase here should be considered in context of a decrease that was seen on our workers' compensation line. And so we did a really holistic deep dive on all of our municipal insurance lines this year. So workers' compensation, and then which is in the human resources budget. And then in the municipal insurance budget in the treasurer's office includes our other general liability lines, automobile, public officials, public safety, and we sort of reset those to ensure that the premiums were more appropriately matching the actuals. We'd got a slightly sort of misaligned between a couple of the different lines, and additionally, the school does contribute their portion to both of those lines, and so we sort of recalculated the school's component of that, and so this netted against the decrease in the HR workers' compensation budget for all of our premiums overall. It was actually very flat. It's just that we have sort of shifted between those to more accurately reflect the reality of the premiums going forward. And we have also adjusted the amount that the school is contributing to offset this on the city side, since this is in the city's, the appropriation is on the city side of the budget.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council on that? No? Okay, so we're on page 335. And this is expenditures only as well. Councillor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the municipal insurance expenditure line item of $438,461 for a department total of $438,461.
Second it.
Councillor Davis moves to recommend approval of the municipal insurance expenditures in the amount of $438,461 for a department total of $438,461. Seconded by Councillor Harvey. All in favor? The record show, I see two hands plus my own. The matter carries. And thank you. Take a breath before we now move on to tabbed section 28. And this is the sewer enterprise funds. Before I do, Anna, did I miss anything in so far? That's okay. So yes, section 28, these are the sewer enterprise funds. For myself. And we are starting on page 601.
So this is our assessment for treatment and disposal of the city's wastewater. It went up 7.8%. There's 5 communities total who get assessed, a portion of this, or who are all involved in this treatment of the wastewater system. And Salem's share this year is just over $5 million.
Great, thank you. And for everyone's knowledge, everything in the sewer enterprise funds and water enterprise funds, these are all expenditure votes. Okay, any questions from the council? Okay, so we are starting on the vote on page 601. Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the sewer enterprise assessment funds expenditures line item of $5,010,255 for a department total of $5,010,255.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the treasurer's sewer enterprise and CSD assessment expenditures in the amount of $5,010,255 for a department total of $5,010,255. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show I see 2 hands plus my own. The matter carries. Then we move on to the next page, the sewer enterprise long-term debt.
The debt for the sewer long-term debt increased slightly, as did interest for the sewer projects. Just consistent with the debt schedule. Just about 5% in total. Increased 5% in total.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yep, take your
Sorry.
Yeah, for the debt and the net, so altogether it's like 279.
Oh, sorry. 2.79% increase. No, that's okay.
Any questions from the council? No? Okay, so the budget summary for this is on page 603 and 604. Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the sewer enterprise budget expenditures line item of $1,800,776 for a department total of $1,800,776.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the sewer enterprise long-term debt expenditures in the amount of $1,800,776 for a department total of $1,800,776. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show I see 2 hands plus my own. The matter carries. Now we are moving on to page 606. And this is the sewer enterprise short-term debt. Any comments?
There has been no change in the sewer debt from previous year, so that's an easy one.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Okay, on page 606, Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the sewer enterprise short-term debt budget with a personnel line item of $55,256 with a department total of $55,256.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the sewer enterprise short-term debt expenditures total in the amount of $55,256 for a department total of $55,256. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show I see 2 hands plus my own. That carries. And then we move on to the next page, 608, for the sewer enterprise insurance deduction.
There was no change in this number as well. It's consistent with prior year. We kept it at $10,000.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the council? Okay, Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the sewer enterprise insurance deduction with a personnel line item of $10,000 for
Chairs.
expenditures line item of $10,000 for department total of $10,000.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the sewer enterprise insurance deduction expenditures in the amount of $10,000 for a department total of $10,000. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show, I see two hands plus my own. The matter carries. And next, we move on to the Water Enterprise Funds, which is sectioned tab 29, the very next page. And we are starting with the Water Enterprise. Let's see. Okay. So we are moving on to page 623. And it is the Water Enterprise long-term debt.
I'll take this one. So this reflects a decrease of around 15%. This is due to some debt rolling off of our debt schedule and is reflective of the debt schedule moving forward for next year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council? Okay, so the budget summary for this is on page 624. Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend for approval the Treasurer's Water Enterprise long-term debt budget, personnel line item, expenditures line item of $2,034,759 for department total of $2,034,759.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the Water Enterprise long-term debt expenditures in the amount of $2,034,759 for a department total of $2,034,759. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show, I see two hands plus my own. The matter carries. And now we move on to page 626. And this is the Water Enterprise short-term debt expenditures only. Any comments?
There has been no change from prior year, so we kept it the same, level funded.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the council? Okay, so this is on page 626. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Water Enterprise short-term debt budget expenditures item of $79,415 with a department total of $79,415.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the Water Enterprise short-term debt expenditures in the amount of $79,415 for a department total of $79,415, seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show, I see two hands plus my own. The matter carries. We move on to the next page, page 628. The Water Enterprise SBWSB assessment. And this is also an expenditures item.
So the city's assessment from the Salem Beverly Water Supply Board went up approximately $10,000, a fraction of a percentage for water usage.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Okay. Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Water Enterprise SBWSB assessment expenditure budget of $3,157,597 for a department total of $3,157,597.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the Salem Beverly Water Supply Board expenditures in the amount of $3,157,597 for a department total of $3,157,597, seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? The record show, I see two hands plus my own. The matter carries. On the very next page, we have Water Enterprise insurance deductibles. Any comments?
Nope, just that there was no change from prior year.
Great.
So
Thank you. So again, that's page 629. Any questions from the council? No? Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the Water Enterprise insurance deductibles expenditures budget of $5,000 for a department total of $5,000.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the water enterprise insurance deductibles expenditures in the amount of $5,000 for a department total of that $5,000. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? The record show I see two hands plus my own. The matter carries, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to you and your team and all your hard work.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated. As we take another breather, we are moving on to finance. And this is the tabbed section 5 that we are starting with. Finance. That's at the beginning of tab 5 with the budget summary on page 302. And thank you, Anna Friedman.
Thank you. So just a very quick overview of the mission of the Finance Department. It's to present a complete and accurate statement of the city's financial condition. We're responsible for all the financial and accounting activities in the city, and many of these activities are prescribed by Mass General Law to ensure the fair assessment and collection of revenues and proper disbursement of funds to meet approved expenditures. We're guided by city charter and ordinance, sound financial and accounting business practice, and adherence to Mass General Law. Just a couple quick notes. I'd like to particularly thank my team. They're fantastic. Deputy Finance Director Justin McCutcheon, Director of Capital Planning James LeBlanc, for their work on the budget, which was many late nights and weekends of me sending them all sorts of things to do on their own time. So I appreciate their diligence. And other employees on our team, Elizabeth Smith, Michael Walsh, and Daniela Manny, who made all of your budget binders. So I'm lucky to have such a fantastic team. We're actually fully staffed for the first time in a little while. As of a couple months ago, we had some turnover, but good turnover. Our former principal clerk was promoted, is now working in a grants coordinator role for the department, which the council had approved as part of the FY25 budget, and this will aid the city in applying for and managing grant opportunities. So thank you for that. He's hit the ground running and is doing a ton of work and getting up to speed with the ever-changing environment related to grants right now. A couple achievements I'd like to highlight over the past year. It was a really big effort to ensure that we met the U.S. Treasury obligation deadline for ARPA on 12/31/24. We were really pleased to ensure that all of Salem's ARPA funds were properly obligated, and they're continuing to be fully spent down in advance of the deadline in 2026. It was a huge effort by our Director of Capital Planning, James LeBlanc. And then we led with the HR department, the compensation and classification study and plan development, which I hope will be a strong foundation and structure for determining equitable employee pay moving forward. So thank you to the mayor for initiating that. And it was a ton of work, but I think it's going to benefit the city for many years to come. A couple upcoming goals that will be a big focus of the department, providing financial analysis regarding the high school building project, including financing options, conversations around potential debt exclusion. And then additionally, sort of an internal goal, we want to completely rework our personnel budgeting process. Right now, we have an entirely manual spreadsheet-based process, and which is prone to error and is extremely time-consuming and confusing. So we want to move that into our Munis system, where our payroll information lives, so we can directly leverage that payroll information, pull it into our budgeting platform, where we can run all sorts of projections and planning scenarios, which will help for annual budget and also for union negotiations. So that's one thing I unfortunately won't get a chance to see through, but our Deputy Finance Director, Justin McCutcheon, is working on that with Human Resources. So he's going to pick up the mantle on that to try to see that through. In terms of budget changes, on the personnel side, there were COLA and union adjustments. And the one large change is in contracted services. Every other year, we must undertake a full actuarial analysis of our OPEB liability. That's our other post-employment benefits, so that's employee health care. And FY26 is a full valuation year. So the full valuation years, the costs are typically in the high 20,000s, and the interim years, they usually run like 9,000. So next year, we have to do a full valuation. So that's the large increase that you're seeing in contracted services. And since this is my last time presenting the Finance Department, I just want to take the opportunity to thank the council for their support of the Finance Department. It's been there's no crying in budget hearings. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to be part of Team Salem over these past 4 years. I didn't know this was going to happen. I feel very fortunate to work in a city where collaboration, strong financial management, and public service to the community are widely shared values. I want to sincerely thank Mayor Pangallo and former Mayor Driscoll for the opportunity to serve as Salem's finance director. I've been so grateful to be part of this incredible team. Excuse me, on a personal note, I do not live in Salem, and I did not grow up here, but my roots are here. My dad's side of the family has lived in Salem going all the way back to the 1800s. It's been particularly special to me to contribute to a place that my family called home for a very long time. So thank you. And sorry for the tears.
We have been incredibly fortunate to have you.
Thank you.
As part of the city team and steering this financial ship. And I will say on a personal note, I was terrified to take the position a couple of years ago as chair for the finance, for the Administration Finance Committee, and how you've personally mentored me and educated me and make me look good, and working with you has been an absolute joy.
No, thank you. It's been my pleasure, sincerely.
Incredibly. Yes, incredibly so. And it really is, there's so much to highlight here. I don't think the meeting would end, but I do want to point out, the budgeting awards that the city has received, under your leadership, the GFOA, Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. It's the 16th year awarded to the city, and, your leadership on this, always coming up, these are unspent funds, or these are something we can use over here to fund that. It's just, you've done an incredible job. The use of the ARPA funds, because that was incredibly complex and with a lot of very strict deadlines, and you made sure we utilized all the funds. I could go on, but I will leave it there. And I appreciate it too that you commented, on the compensation study for non-union employees. I think that was really important, an important action for the city of Salem, for equity and fairness. So, yes, I agree. So grateful. So grateful.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilor Hockey.
Thank you, Chair Merkel. Anna, I got to say thank you. I've learned a lot in the past year and a half, and I can honestly tell you, every time I saw you walk into the council chambers, I was like, all right, my mind's going to get blown again tonight, because it just amazes me. Even last year's budgets, we're in the middle of the whole thing, and you picked up on a slight error just in conversation of the whole budget hearing. It's just what you do amazes me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, Chair Merkel, not being a member of the committee. So, this non-union COLA thing is terrific, but it's very unique to have a classification review, which I believe is even more important than just the immediate raise. So I think that's great. I admire Liz Warren, Senator Warren, because I used to think that she could explain things about finance and business that most people don't understand. And, I'm just going to say, you do that as well or better. I think you're the smartest person I've ever met. You're just so supportive of all the departments, and it's so easy to talk to you. And I know there's so many things in this book, like debt. I'll never figure out depreciation and debt, no matter what. And, anytime I'm in your space and you explain something, or all the stuff that we've had with the schools, that is so complicated. I just, not just as a city councilor, but someone who used to work for the city, just really so appreciative of just the way you are and the way you act with people and how you make things happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. It's very high praise. I appreciate that.
Councilor Marcillo.
Thank you, Chair. Anna, as much as I love data, finances are not in that same category. I just look for patterns. That's all I look for. So So I've always trusted you, though. I have to say that. You're one of the few people that if I say, what about this? What are you thinking about this? And if you say you're not worried, I'm like, okay, there's nothing to worry about then. You make the city look good, and you make the mayor's office look good. Like you make, it's not a slight. It's like, it's an important part of the city and how it runs. And you make everyone look better because of the work that you're doing to clean things up and fix things and put us on the right path towards the future. And it's so important. And there's not a lot of people that can do the job as well as you do it. And I hope you're trying to find someone to replace you, because you need someone as good as you. We've been spoiled, I think, these past couple of years with your level of knowledge and your confidence in your work. So we will miss you. I hope you have a great summer, though.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you.
I will miss everyone here sincerely. Thank you.
Okay, we are on, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry,
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I just wanted to
Davis.
add on to the pig piling compliments, but same here. I'd been blown away by your expertise and knowledge, not just in council chambers, but I had the privilege of attending the MMA conference you were a speaker of somewhere in Western Massachusetts, and it was incredibly helpful. You're doing kind of a one-on-one on finance of concepts I felt like I could never kind of wrap my head around, but not just the amount of knowledge and expertise you have, but I think you have an incredible skill for explaining it in terms that people can understand. So was very appreciative of that and continue to be very appreciative. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. That means a lot.
So I also have our MMA presentation because I've rewatched it. So yes, I know what he's referring to. Yes. Okay. Great. We are on section 5 with the budget summary on page 302. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the finance budget with a personnel line item of $475,236 and a expenditures line item of $150,006 for a department total of $625,242.
Second it.
Councilor Davis moves to recommend approval of the Finance Department personnel budget in the amount of $475,236, expenditures in the amount of $150,006 for a Finance Department total of $625,242. Seconded by Councilor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show I see 2 hands plus my own. The matter carries. And now we move on to the budget transfer out of general fund. This is in tab section 27. And this is an expenditures only vote. Get over to that. Thank you. Any
Just a quick note on these. The transfer to the Retirement Stabilization Fund, that is a sound financial practice that the city of Salem has, so that as employees retire who will receive payouts of their sick or vacation time under their union agreements. This is a way to set that aside so that individual department lines don't wildly vary or have deficits every year. So based on current projections for retirements, we felt comfortable taking a slight adjustment going into next year. And then the transfer to the Salem 2026 fund was eliminated in the budget this year because we've identified grant funds, and their Senator Lovely graciously allocated some funding that we're tracking and we hope to land in the final state budget. And so we believe that there are sufficient funds going into next year for the 2026 fund that we did not need to include additional transfer for the final year.
Yes, that was good news. Yeah, it was. Okay, any questions from the council? Okay, Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion to recommend approval of the budget transfer out of general fund with a personnel line item of $400,000 for department total of $400,000.
Second it.
Yes, and just a question, that's an expenditures item. Councilor Davis moves to To recommend approval of the budget transfer out of general fund expenditures in the amount of $400,000 for a department total of $400,000, seconded by Counselor Harvey. All in favor? Let the record show, I see 2 hands plus my own. The matter carries. And did I miss? No, that is everything we needed to do tonight. Okay, great. Then I will take another motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Great. We are adjourned, and thank you.